Elliott, I was worried about your leg, and so I didn't do much.
I appreciate that. I really appreciate the sympathy, nothing that you did for me.
Oh, this guy.
Oh. Thank you. We forgot to mention you. Stuart is now more virtual than meat. He no longer exists in physical space.
Yeah,
most
if you
of the
want,
time.
you know.
Elliott, if you've been following me on TikTok, you'll see that I am plenty full of meat.
Please let it be just an eating series that you're doing.
Technically, we're all full of meat. We're made of meat. Hello, Boston.
Hey! Talk about your cities of meat, right?
Like what? Name them. What are some Boston meats?
Well, a Yankee...
You go to your Boston market and
you
you
get Boston chicken.
Yeah.
A Yankee bean is just a testicle, right?
That's right.
Is lobster meat? Is that? Thank you. Okay, I'm right.
Yeah, you're right. You did.
You guys are always trying to gaslight me. They know
right.
I'm right.
We've been trying to convince him for years that lobster is not meat, and someone in his
You
audience
all
messed
undid
up.
it in one fell swoop. How many? I like to ask this for my own edification, not because it helps anything.
We're not keeping track.
How many people listen to this show? Okay.
Yeah. Dan,
how
we're
many
nearly
people?
100% market penetration.
Well,
This is
no,
amazing.
I mean, how many people were brought here or stumbled in or some other thing? Okay.
Wow.
There is some of that
Thank
going
you.
on.
All right, so less than 100%.
No, it's good.
Oh,
You know,
okay.
it's still, the odds are still in our favor.
From this random sampling of Bostonians?
Yep.
Also, is anyone in the audience related to Dan McCoy?
Okay. All right.
Dan,
That's true.
introduce your parents. Introduce your parents.
I don't want to because I don't want you to be thinking about the fact that my parents are in the audience when I do the presentation I'm going to do.
No.
No,
It
you
will make
should.
it much funnier.
I think
it will make it much
so much
funnier when you know
more
it's
uncomfortable for everyone. Speaking of which, we should run down what the show is. At the top of the show, well, this is the top of the show.
Yeah. You can tell. You don't have to tell me. You can tell that. I
Elliott,
know.
don't
I've
worry.
done this.
This isn't the whole show. Don't worry, Elliott. After this part of the show, we're going to do some presentations. It's going to go boop, boop, boop down the line.
Yeah.
Presentations. Then we're going to talk about If, a movie that we may have some strong feelings about. And
If anyone wanted to hear us talk about it, sorry.
yeah. And this is not If ellipses.
No, with Malcolm McDowell.
That's a totally different
What a
film.
movie. What a movie.
So if you watch
only
that
we were
one-
talking about that.
I mean,
what an indictment
you're
of
welcome,
the British
but-
education system. Oh, that gray, somber aisle, yearning to be wild and reckless. But we're not talking about that tonight.
Yeah.
Hey,
no, this is...
do we introduce ourselves?
Oh, sorry.
Oh, yeah.
We're the Flophouse. We're a podcast. We watch a bad movie and then we talk about it. I'm Dan McCoy.
I'm Stuart Wellington.
I'm Elliott Kalan. We did it.
That's and that's the show.
They said, so we're going to talk, so let's get back to the
Okay,
order of
first
show
principles.
already in progress. First, we're going to dick around like you're saying. 2, presentations, boop, boop, boop. You remember the boops. 3, we're going to talk about If, not the Lindsay Anderson one with Malcolm McDowell.
No.
Yeah.
Then we're going to have some time for some questions from you, the audience, in a segment I like to call Questions and Audience. Q&A.
We'll talk about that titling.
Hey, Dan, when I called it Questions and Alligators, you also had problems. So
Only
up your
because
mind.
there weren't any alligators.
what?
People
And
were
whose
mad.
fault was that? The answer was the fault was my alligator guy. didn't get him in time.
I'm very. The Wonder Wheel is in the movie. We don't think that the Wonder Wheel is a Boston thing. I just want to make that clear.
Dan's
No.
inventing somebody in the audience being like,
top.
what the fuck?
What the
this
fuck?
thing doesn't look right.
We don't have any Wonder Wheel, you know.
Perfect.
Well, wait.
It sounded more New York than
Ben
it
Affleck
did.
show up? What?
Yep. Ben Affleck was here.
Should we start the
Mayor
show
of Boston.
proper?
Yeah.
Do we,
Yeah, let's do it. Let's start the
kick it
show
off.
proper, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. We're very excited to be back in Boston. We haven't been here in years. This space is a really fun one to be in because we can see all the people who did not care enough to come to the show as they walk by outside. It's a nice way to put ourselves in perspective. All right.
Yeah, no, that's cool.
What?
We're just
talking about seats back here.
Okay. I mean, it's... can I sit at that aftermind, or is it just a table now?
It's a table. Now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right, we're going to do some presentations. All right, everybody, it's 2024. Everybody having a great year? Me neither. Setting aside that in the past couple days I've felt a burst of enthusiasm, but anyway... We're not going to talk about that right now. 2024 sucks. We're here. It's crappy. Perhaps that's why I've found myself escaping into the past. Specifically, 24 years ago to the year 2000, as seen here in this file photo. A very different time. Now, let's get one thing straight, everybody. I live on the West Coast. In the sun. Yeah, boo, it's so nice and sunny there. Boo. There's more work for me. In the summer of 2000, though, I was a 19-year-old college sophomore spending time on another very different coast. That's right, East Coast, best coast. But now, I don't understand. What? I said the West Coast, booze. I said the East Coast, booze again. Are we in Chicago? What's going on? This audience, I cannot get a beat on them. I don't understand. Anyway, the point is I lived on the East Coast. But that year I was spending my time on a very different coast. The Sun Coast Motion Picture Company. A company that did not make motion pictures. It didn't even rent them. It only sold them. For purchase to own. And who did that selling? I did, my friends. Back when I was still young and beautiful. Look at me, all that hair. Ooh la la. I worked at the Suncoast Motion Picture Company in New Jersey's Short Hills Mall, or as they call it there, the Mall at Short Hills, purveying such cinema classics as... Let's take a look. What's in the back there? Computer. Zoom in. Zoom further. Okay, now enhance. Ah, yes, Jetsons the movie. Perfectly priced at $17.99. For it delivers exactly $1 less in entertainment than Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the movie. Now, some of the more elderly members of the audience may recognize that these are VHS tapes. VHS, of course, is an acronym, or initials, or whatever. VHS stands for Video Has Stuff on It. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. Now, I was lucky enough to be a personal witness to a major turning point in the history of film. That's right, the transition from VHS to DVD, which means it's time for another installment of Old Man Kalin's Tales of Obsolete Media. Gather around, youngins. Let me tell you of a time when all of America was in the midst of being wowed by discs that were both digital and video. It is hard to imagine now when you look at that, but there was a time when DVDs truly were the cutting edge. Thank you. What was so exciting about DVDs, you younger people may ask? Oh, I don't know. How about interactive menus as listed prominently on the box? I mean, wow. Watch The Matrix? Thanks to DVDs, you were in The Matrix. Or Pumpkinhead, or 6 Days, 7 Nights, or How High. I don't know what kind of crap you watch. But thanks to DVD scene selections, now you could watch that crap you like the way you like. No more than having to watch a movie all the way through like a loser. Now when you watched your favorite movie, The Crow, you could skip straight to Chapter 12, Vengeance T-Bird, without having to sit through Chapter 5, Payback Tintin, and then jump back to Chapter 8, Retribution Fun Boy. It was like magic. Now, when I was working at Suncoast, I didn't just learn about DVDs. No. I'm a writer, and that means I'm very observant. So I learned about people as well. Specifically, I learned that people only care about 3 movies: Star Wars, Back to the Future, and Braveheart. That's it. Just those 3 movies. I don't care what your favorite movie is. If it's one of those three, no one else likes it. 3 movies which, while I worked at Suncoast, were not available on DVD. To be honest, Braveheart was released at the tail end of my time there. Star Wars would not be on DVD until years later. And Back to the Future, I don't know. Maybe it never came out on DVD. There's just no way of knowing. My point is, every day, multiple times a day, customers would walk into the store and ask if Star Wars, Back to the Future, or Braveheart were on DVD yet. And every day, I would have to tell them, no. But did these customers leave empty-handed? No, no, no. Also no. They did not leave with the movie they came for, perhaps. But they nearly all, to a man, a woman, or child, left that Suncoast Motion Picture Company in the Short Hills Mall in New Jersey after purchasing the same alternate movie, the single most consistently purchased DVD at that store during my time there. You know what it is, just say it with me. Deuce Bigalow, male gigolo. Scientific fact. This is true historical fact. Do you have the intricate sci-fi comedy of Back to the Future? No? I guess I'll take Deuce Bigalow, male gigolo. Do you have the thrilling alien worlds of Star Wars? No? I guess I'll take Deuce Bigalow, male gigolo. And this happened to me once. Ooh, 7 Samurai from the Criterion Collection. Yeah, I'll take that. And you know what? Throw in this copy of Deuce Bigalow, male gigolo. I will remind you, this was not a video rental store. This was a video sales store. These people were buying Deuce Bigalow to own in their homes where their children sleep. I don't want Rob Schneider that close to my children. And this was at a time when DVDs cost, at minimum, $30 retail. These people were buying DVDs of Deuce Bigalow like they were candy bars. $30 candy bars. It's as if these Sun-coastamers, a name we did not call them, but we should have, it's like they cared more about interacting with the menu than about what was on the menu. Because here's the thing. If a delivery, yeah, thank you. Everyone was like, oh, interesting. This is the thinky part, yeah. This is like a TED Talk. Because the TED stands for, that's enough deuce. Yeah, that's, look, if a delivery method, thank you, feels cool enough and new enough, people will watch anything. Lackluster reality shows, lackluster prestige shows, random young person bullshit, 4 hours, nerds giving lectures for hours, and the same dumb shit they already get for free as a podcast. JK, thank you for tuning in. Flop TV Season 2 this fall. We were shooting some stuff for it today. It's going to be dumb. Okay. Look, don't go looking for me at the Suncoast and the Short Hills Mall. It's not there anymore. And long before it closed, I'd moved on to something even bigger. The Barnes Noble Superstore in Manhattan, which is also not there anymore. I was fine, though. I'd already gone on to a job at The Daily Show with Jon Stewart, a show that, when I originally wrote this presentation, also wasn't on anymore. I guess it's true. Everything dies. And then sometimes one of them comes back to life. But you know what? That's just how it is with these bearded Jewish guys. I don't know what to tell you. Happy belated Easter, everybody. Easter all year round.
What?
Okay, thank you. Look, let me wind up this nonsense. Look, because we got more nonsense to get to. Look, I'm 42 years old. The age, I know, right? I look like I'm like 20. Okay. The age when you start to realize that wherever you are in life, this is as good as it gets. You start to say, I'll do anything if it means a chance at starting over. But how do you know? It's hardly broadcast news. By the way, I should have mentioned this presentation is brought to you by the James L. Brooks of the Month Club. The James L. Brooks of the Month Club proudly stands by their slogan, I'm sorry, eventually we'll have to send you Spanglish. My point is, at my age, you can't help but hearken back to simpler days that seem to be full of limitless potential. The limitless potential of a lonely nerd wearing a corporate monogrammed polo shirt telling people they can't have Star Wars. Actually, 2000 was kind of a crappy year, too. And you know what? No matter what happens this year, it might be a good year, it might be a bad year. No matter what happens, I can guarantee you this. For the entirety of 2024, I will not handle a single fucking copy of Deuce Bigelow, Male Gigolo. You know what? I think it's going to be a pretty good year. Yeah. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, that was a real emotional roller coaster for me. Thank you for joining me on it.
This is a really nice venue. It's attached to a public radio station.
Yeah.
I was worried maybe earlier that they thought they were getting the Elliott Kalan of the Power Broker series on 99% Invisible.
I'll do that too. All right, chapter 17. So when we last
this
left,
is the dumb
Al
show.
Smith,
We're doing the dumb show.
Okay, never mind.
We're doing the dumb one.
The dumb one, where I don't get to sing Sidewalks of New York. All right, okay.
I mean, you probably could.
I'll do it later.
Let's see if... Oh.
Keep going. There we go.
There we go.
Okay. And then...
Sex! Specifically, cartoon sex.
No, I don't like it.
Look, that's Congress between a married man and his wife. That is a beautiful expression of love. Cartoon sex. If the internet has taught us one thing, it's this. People are horny for cartoons.
Sorry, Dan, I'm just watching the people that are walking by outside.
You can't. Enjoy it, but enjoy it quieter.
Yeah, sorry.
We can only hope that was the worst image in the presentation.
Surely they're all more normal.
Surely nothing else like that.
Whether it be characters just this side of fetish illustrations or offbeat faves that make you question all that you hold dear. Boy, howdy, does humanity love those fuckable doodles. And I say, why not? We consume cartoons mostly during childhood while our brains are still forming. And those cartoons can plant pervy seeds that grow to confusing thoughts in puberty before blossoming into Baroque kinks in adulthood. And they can start early. I will be extra embarrassingly honest, considering I remember being a little kid wondering if when Mary Poppins flew through the air with her umbrella, did all those Edwardian Londoners see her butt? Decades later, I have both learned about petticoats and I've become the semi-functional adult pervisoid that stands before you. The child is the father of the man, and when the innocence of youth gets gunked up by the hormones of later youth, you start wondering, does that cartoon, do it? Whether it be Gadget Hackrich's Mouse Next Door appeal, or the Fox version of Robin Hood's rakish charm, few among us haven't at least pondered the confusing sexual math of being horny for a tune, and not just because of the internet. Long before Shrek Vor was a twinkle in some weirdo's eye, the movie's new. Take one of the medium's earliest stars, Betty Boop. Her whole deal was being sexy. Well, with her cutesy voice, her visible garter, and doe eyes so huge they required a head as swollen as Charlie Brown's to accommodate them. So, humans want to bang tunes, but is it mutual?
Nope.
There's no one walking by at this point, so...
I walked off the stage, and it only meant I could see it more easily, so I gotta...
To find out what an adult human-tune relationship might look like, let's take a brief tour of Filmden's horniest doodles. Now, 1944, The Three Caballeros was produced in conjunction with the government's good neighbor policy to shore up U.S. relations with Latin America during the war. Uncle Walt encouraged these positive relations in the obvious way, by sending Donald Duck to try and make love to all their human women. This is educational. Sure, most of the Three Caballeros is cute stuff about a penguin who hates the cold, a flying donkey, but the climax is a live-action animation musical freakout focused on Donald's flesh fever. Now, during a Mexican recording artist Dora Luz's song, Donald fantasizes that he's a bee diving into flowers that encircle her face in a sequence that Georgia O'Keeffe called a bit much. Who Framed Roger Rabbit? Now, this is where cartoon horniness stops being polite and starts getting real. Jessica Rabbit is so sexed up, she frankly looks less like the classic Tex Avery character she's meant to evoke, and more like one of those old Playboy panels designed to normalize sexual harassment. But despite everybody being horny for Jessica, no... Look at Doris Roberts. Doris Roberts is into it. No humans ever do it with her. The closest anyone ever comes is when Marvin Acme plays patty cake with Jessica, which her husband Roger treats as an even bigger betrayal than cheating. And honestly, I get it. If my wife cheated on me, I'd be like, okay, something's wrong here. We can work it out. But if she's sneaking out to play patty cake, that opens up a lot of questions. Now, for any comprehensive look at the perils and pitfalls of cartoon human sex, you have to go to the Western canon's primary text on the matter, which is, of course, Cool World. It's the film a horny 13-year-old might write if they were upset Who Framed Roger Rabbit was based more on Polanski's Chinatown than his Bitter Moon. It's weird because I understand.
That's what was too far?
I understand.
Did you see what Goofy was doing earlier?
I understand the objection to Polanski in general, but it seemed to be specifically about Bitter Moon. That was the part that confused me. Anyway, Cool World is the one movie that addresses the notion of cartoons and humans fucking that actually offers a thesis statement. And weirdly, for a movie so horny, that thesis is don't do it. Or in the words of Brad Pitt's cock-blocking cop, noids do not have sex with doodles. Which is good advice for someone who knows what the hell noid and doodle means, but not the most helpful thing to tell someone just off the train at Cool World Station. I mean, I guess noid is short for humanoid, but humanoid, you gotta admit it's confusing. Since 3 years before Cool World, a claymation mascot named the Noid was still starring in commercials for Domino's Pizza, and Domino's only retired the character after a mentally ill man with the last name Noid thought the commercials were literally telling people to avoid him and took a bunch of people hostage. Sorry. Paper problems. As claymation-related crimes go, this is way worse than anything the California Raisins ever did. Their only sin was convincing America raisins were an acceptable snack. A lot of raisin fans. You hate Bitter Moon, you love raisins.
That's Boston.
It's like the classic saying about Boston. Anyway, it's pretty rich that after all the promises about what Holly would do if she could, Cool World's message is, don't fuck them sexy tunes. It's, R.I.P.
This presentation about cartoon sex is a surprising minefield.
She was still with us when this was written. Don't fuck them sexy tunes. It feels like an odd moral to push, not only because don't have sex with sentient drawings isn't useful advice for most people's daily lives, but also because Cool World is so fully devoted to convincing the audience that we want to fuck this horny tune, and then after 90 minutes of rotoscoped cleavage and upskirts, Cool World says, nope, humans go with humans, and tunes keep with tunes, like the good Lord intended. On a strictly metaphorical level, keeping noids and tunes separated kind of makes the whole thing feel sort of racist. Who would have thought that a movie as otherwise perfect as Cool World might have some thematic problems? But I can't chalk this up to just one dumb movie about cartoon boobs. This kind of moral double talk is all over our culture. Hollywood loves to lure an audience in the door with a titillating premise before forcing a comforting return to traditional morality. I'm not advocating for all movies to be nonstop tune fuckfests. But also, I can't help but feel there's something a little dishonest about a society where entertainment is frequently built to appeal to an audience's salacious desires, but rarely lets the characters do the deed. If Hollywood and Holly can, then let Holly have some fun once in a while. Although, honestly, with the number of cartoons where a stork brings babies, who knows if they even have genitals? Thank you.
That was really enlightening, Dan. Thank you very much.
Dan, what do you think the conversation with your parents after the show is going to be?
I mean,
I want to track down the one guy I saw walking past who was like, what? So it's really weird, but my presentation's also about fucking cartoons, I guess. So. Gang, since we're talking about our passions, I'm going to talk about one of my passions, and that's right. I want to talk about movies. Have you guys ever seen one of these things? They're crazy. Now, there's a lot of different genres of movies. That means styles of movies.
Oh.
Yep, thank you. Could anybody in the audience give me a genre of movie? Man, this is the first time. Nailed it in one. Woo, okay. I had a whole bit about it, but I guess not. Okay. I love action movies. That's right. I like fist fights. I like gun fights. I like car fights, as long as there's a fight or something. But the thing I like the most are those big old boys with the muscles. I like big, beefy beefcakes up on that big screen. And tonight we're going to talk a little bit about how they got so dang big, who they are, and I don't know, some other stuff. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about different styles of what I call a big boy on the big screen. And the first one, we're going to go with your generic action guys. To clarify, we're talking about guys who are known as a single name. They are known across the world. They are name brand action heroes. You got guys like Sylvester, Arnold, Jean-Claude, I guess that's two names. Ma Dong Se-hook. Look at that little kitty. Or, of course, J.K. Simmons. Yikes. Okay. Next category is athletes. These are guys who have excelled in their chosen field, and you know what? They're like, I am not happy about that. I also want to be a movie star. You got guys like Howie Long, Dennis Rodman. No one is clapping for any of these guys. Brian Bosworth, or whoops. Get out of there. Now you got wrestlers. Wrestlers are a lot like athletes, but as you can see, people like them more because they are better at performing. You got Hulk Hogan, yep, thank.
Now it happened to you, Stuart.
They're booing Hulk, not me, I hope. John Cena, The Rock, yay, thank you.
He'll do something that you guys don't like at some point.
Me or John Cena?
Both.
Oh, yeah. Fair's fair. Okay. Next up, we got big guys. That's just big old dudes. You got big, scary guys who kind of stand around. They don't really say much, but they're big. Okay. We got Carrot Tops. I don't like this group either. But when you set out to make a presentation, you got to put them all in there. Okay, but let's talk about my number one favorite type of big boy on the big screen. That's right. I love actors who bulk up for the role. They start little and they get big. They are, they're going to be big-time movie stars, but they're like, I need to take it one step further. I need to get huge. I think I like it because I just love Animorphs. I love it when a human turns into a beast, I guess. So let's talk about some of these guys. I'm going to give you some examples so you know what I'm talking about. So you got like Kumail, who got big for Stuber. You got Chris, who got big for what, Parks and Recreation or something? You got Stuart for Psycho Gorman. Oh, how'd he get in there? Okay. You got Tom Hardy for what, Bane and Warrior? Man, that's big. You got Dan Stevens for The Guest. But then he took it too far for Beauty and the Beast. Unrealistic, buddy. You got Den from Heavy Metal. Jessica Biel for Blade Trinity. Look at her fucking arms. That's crazy. You got Chris for Captain America. You got Wolverine for The Wolverine. You got Zac Efron for Baywatch. Actually, fuck that. Zac Efron for The Iron Claw. Look at him. He looks like a fucking barrel. Mario should be jumping over him. We have a Love Lies Bleeding. Love Lies Bleeding. Katie O'Brien in Love Lies Bleeding. Jesus. Woo. But how do they get so dang big? Let's talk about it. First thing, you got to eat a lot of meat. You want to be made of meat, you got to eat it. You take protein powder, why not? It's got protein in the name. Carbs, or actually, maybe not, I don't know. I'm not a scientist. You got to drink a lot of water, unless you want your veins to show. You don't do steroids. But if you're rich, you can probably get the good ones. Nah, maybe don't do them. But, you get big really fast. No, they're illegal. Don't do it. Okay, you gotta eat your veggies. Boo. But the most important part, you gotta exercise. Nobody likes that part. Okay, just to give you an idea of some different exercises, because I can tell that people might not be familiar with it. Let's see, we got weightlifting. Oh, man. Let's see. Dan, look at that. That's a lot of weight up there. What's that, 305 pounds?
There.
Oh, man, yeah. He's got that locked in there. Yeah, it's... Up. Well, oh, that's moving easy. Wow, what do you see that, Dan? It's pretty good.
Yeah,
Yay! So that's weightlifting, everybody. Next, we got to do some cardio. Oops. Forgot to put that one in there. And reacher. Now, I'm not going to talk about big boys on the big screen without talking about the biggest fucking boy on the screen. He is described as like 7 feet tall with hands the size of grocery store chickens. That's right. There's only one person in Hollywood that's the biggest. Tom Cruise. Thanks.
Well, this is the educational portion of the show.
Yep, we hope you all learned something.
You learned important stuff.
You learned things that you're going to take with you for the rest of your life. Unfortunately, in Dan's case, you'll never forget those images.
I like to think about it as sex positivity, but...
Okay,
Thank you.
A lonely voice in the audience says, hey.
I love it.
Fred Schneider came to the show.
That would be great if he did.
Yeah.
I'm trying to do more like the Smash TV, like big money, big prizes. I love it.
Yeah.
Okay, so you took a reference a lot of people might not get and made a reference even fewer people would get.
I think you
Where are you going?
probably remember
Oh.
that from the days of being the head writer over me at The Daily Show.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
like,
for sure.
Could you
yeah.
write some jokes that people understand, maybe?
Are you telling me that people haven't seen Ski School too? They'll get this joke.
This is the part of the show where we do the show.
Now we're actually going to do the show now.
We're not used to sitting in such comfortable chairs.
No,
it might throw us
just taking a
off.
nap.
So,
All right. It starts thusly.
Yeah. Let's go.
On this episode, we discuss If.
Live from Boston, Massachusetts.
That's
thank
right.
you. Thank you.
Yeah.
We are absolutely swimming in beans. So this is The Flophouse. It's a podcast where we watch a bad movie, we talk about it. I'm Dan McCoy.
I'm Stuart Wellington.
I'm Elliott Kalan, and together we are.
The Flophouse. That might confuse the live audience who already heard this spiel, but you know
they're
what?
not
We're
gonna be
resetting.
Nice
gonna be
use of the word
confused.
spiel. Yeah.
No, they thought they fell into a time tunnel.
Right. Okay. That makes
There are a lot of those in Boston, yeah. The Big Dig, I think they call it. When they dug that time tunnel,
Certainly
the
took long enough.
dig was too big, and they went into the past and the future.
So
Oh, yeah, traffic to the 13th century was terrible today. Good thing I got this Dunkin' coffee to power me through it. Yeah.
do you guys feel like we're like on like a local public affairs program with this setup?
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, we're here at WBUR CitySpace, a public radio mecca headquarters performance venue. And yeah, it feels like we're here to talk about local zoning issues that may not be sexy, but will affect you.
I wish we could have zoned this movie out of existence, Elliot. I
Dan's
zoned
showing
out
his
watching
hand
it.
here.
Oh, give me a third zone, Dan. I need it. Give me.
The Twilight Zone is another zone. You
But
just
that's
told me
not-
to give me one.
Oh, that's true. I should have specified I
Technically,
wanted another
there's
play
no-
on words
no
about the
play on
movie,
words,
about the
there's no
zone.
pun,
Yeah,
there's
I'll
no
be more
joke.
specific next time. That's a good note for me.
So, Stuart, you
Yes,
were the
Dan?
one who took notes on this movie because you, of course, love John Krasinski
Yeah.
and all that
I got to
John
get this out of the
Krasinski-
way. So we watched the movie If, which stands for Imaginary Friends. And it's it's from the imagination of John Krasinski. So
Written and directed.
Written and directed, and he's in
directed.
it.
And I am known for not being a huge fan of this fellow's work.
And I find this personally hilarious because I have no opinion about John Krasinski one way or the other. So the fact that Stuart, it means so much to him to be bristling at him, the same way that when my grandmother years ago, when she was still alive, she sent me a letter when George W. Bush was president that said, "I've hated him more than any politician in my lifetime except Thomas Dewey." And I was like, all right, let's get into this. I've never heard anyone have an opinion about Thomas Dewey before. So
Well,
that's
what
how
was the dish on that?
she said he would say anything to get elected. So
Well, I gotta say, I used to be an Elliot, but after watching If, I'm swinging over to the Stewart side of the equation.
Wow,
But we'll talk
okay.
about it.
Yes. So we are talking about If. Okay. I do need to point out ahead of time. I don't like John Krasinski, and partially for plot reasons, almost every male character in this movie looks like John Krasinski, or at least some variation on a theme, and I'm not into it. Okay, let's see. Movie opens. There's a bunch of little notes in there. What, like cameos? What, Coney Island? What's
Empty
on there?
Brooklyn, not fun.
Yeah.
I can agree with that.
Not fun's important. Okay, so the movie opens with very special If credits.
there's a kids painting style Paramount logo just to get
So
you
they
in the
are
mood.
all in there. Like, this is going to be a huge hit.
This will redefine our studio,
Mm-hmm.
and then we'll get purchased finally.
And it's always fun when a movie that doesn't do well has those, because you're like, oh, yeah, this is your Dark Universe moment.
Nothing beats that moment when that Dark Universe logo comes up, and you're like, "This is the one time you're going to use that," and you think that it's going to last a long time. Yeah.
So the movie opens with a family staying at their grandma's house. And by house, I mean Brooklyn Heights apartment that is incredible. That's the most believable imaginary thing in this movie, is this amazing apartment with like a beautiful view of the Brooklyn Bridge. I'm getting way in the weeds here, but
No, the Boston audience is going to love this. Yeah.
but it's just this amazing apartment. I love it. Okay, so this family staying at their grandma's house, played by Fiona Shaw, and it's told from the perspective of a little girl, Elizabeth B. and her mother is dying of cancer, and John Krasinski is, I don't know, being a clown, goofing around.
Well, this is all shot. This is like a montage that's shown. It's got a filter on it as if it's like 70s home film, like it's a 16 millimeter film or an 8 millimeter film. But when their camcorder is clearly a DV camcorder, but they put like an old look on it to show that it was the past. But it was like a year ago, so I don't. But yeah, it's they're trying to cheer up their daughter while the mother slips away, and it could be very sad, right? Mm-hmm. I'm sure your heartstrings.
I'm sure that they are trying to go for a like beginning of Up sort of.
Yes,
situation.
they even used the same composer to make the music in this movie.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it's not as
equally
effective.
successful.
Yeah.
So, the movie fades to black, and we get
They play
title.
Fade to Black by Metallica, and suddenly it kicks into a whole new gear.
The movie skips forward now. B is all grown up. She's all grown up. She's 12 years old now.
Yeah, she's not old. Let's be clear. No one on the Flophouse thinks 12 years old is all grown up. Nobody. She's a child.
Good save. Although
And a big theme of the movie is her recognizing that she is a child. Yeah.
She is like wearing this, like, I guess it's like.
Don't talk about what she's wearing.
Come on. I'm not. It's like they're like overalls, but they're like styled so they're like wearing like suspenders. Like it's also whimsical. Like everyone in this movie like wears suspenders around and like is about to like dance with a lamp at any
There are
moment
times when this movie is trying so hard for the kind of effortless twee that Wes Anderson can just pull out of his butt at a moment's notice. Even to the point later on of a slow-mo walking sequence set to, I think, a song that he uses in one of the other movies, right? So, like, but he's not quite pulling it off. He's not pulling off the sad, beautiful of Up or the kind of beautiful twee of Wes Anderson. He's instead kind of Krasinskiing it, just kind of in the middle.
So we see B is grown up, like slightly grown up.
Yeah, slightly older.
A few years older. She doesn't think she's a kid anymore. However, she's back in Grandma's house. We believe some kind of time has passed, but it's weird that for some reason they begin in not their home and then she's back in, I don't know.
For some reason, whenever someone in the family is sick and has to go to the hospital, they go to the grandma's house. And I get it now because she only has one parent, as we'll find that parent is in the hospital. When her dad was still around, I don't know why they went to the grandma's house to sit out this illness, but I don't know.
Well, I mean, it's a really nice apartment.
It is a very nice apartment.
I get the feeling that they used to live there when the mom was alive, and then they went back there for some reason, just I guess to like really like hammer home those feelings of like you might lose this parent too, kid. But like the weird thing about it is like like the grandmother is taking care of B, and Krasinski, who's in the hospital for what they tweely call a broken heart, like he has some heart condition, is like
broke.
I'm sure you'll get into this. I'm sorry to take over your, but like he's like go
Dan,
out there.
I love that you are so engaged with the plot of the movie that you can summarize it. So,
like,
Stuart, I apologize, but I'm kvelling
Well,
just seeing
let me
that my
take the
little
wheel
boy grew
here.
up like this. Yeah,
I'm so like this baffles me because he's like I want you to go out there and live life, and I'm like this kid is 12. Like she spends so much of this movie unsupervised,
wandering the
roaming
streets of New
around
York,
New
yeah.
York. I'm like, I guess she's out of school because of the sickness, but like the grandma's not looking after her. What's going on? Like,
The
I don't
grandma
think John
is-
Krasinski was like, yeah, just do whatever, kid.
the grandma's kind of constantly twittering with anxiety, and she has her own story that never gets told about why she has no confidence about anything. And at one point, she's like, "I hope you like this pizza. I got all the different kinds because I didn't know what you like." And it's like, Grandma, just ask your granddaughter what kind of pizza she wants you to order. Like, it's okay. Like,
Family needs to talk to each other.
I don't know if kids have opinions on pizza.
yeah. Kids are very
Only
reticent
turtles.
to share their thoughts about pizza with grown-ups.
So yeah, as we covered, she's staying with Grandma, even though she's not a kid anymore. She insists, and her dad is in the
she is.
hospital, and she visits her dad, and he's like does all kinds of like goofy magic tricks.
He does like a dance routine with his IV pole. Like he's put a mop on it to look like a wig and googly eyes, and he's like doing like a Fred Astaire type dance number. And the whole time I was like, if you drop that and it just rips the IV right out of your arm, that's gonna hurt so bad. Yeah. But the nurse thinks it is adorable.
Yeah, the nurse played by, I forget the character's name, but from The Bear, the one of the...
I forget the character and the actress's name.
Okay.
But she's great in The Bear, and she's pretty good in this, too.
Yeah.
I'll say this right off the bat. Okay, you're going to hear us criticize this movie a lot. I think rightfully. But I think there are a number of very good performances in this movie. And and the main girl is great, I think. I think she does a fantastic job. She's carrying this whole movie, and she does it really well. And it makes me wonder if John Krasinski's strength is directing actors and not writing,
Or the rest of it.
or other things.
Yeah.
But I think he gets some good performances out of these actors.
Yeah.
No comment. And there's a line here where B is interacting with her dad, and she's like, "Life doesn't have to be fun." And I feel like that is the message, that is the thing that the movie has to beat out of her. They have to make her believe life is fun.
Well, and this is this movie, it's got a pro-fun and a pro-imagination message, which is great. But the fact that
it's not fun.
It's not fun. She's going through something traumatic. Like, she might lose her second parent, which are all these, and the idea that the movie is like, hey, smile on through it. You're not allowed to have these bad feelings. Like, that's a pretty toxic message. Yeah. Like, hey, kids, tamp it down. Shove it in, bottle it up. Keep that smile plastered on your face, We
got a note here. The nurse was Liza Kolan Zayas. So
perfect pronunciation.
I
she's great. I like her a
Here's
lot.
the thing. I thought it was more important.
Such an uncalled for roast.
I thought it was more important to credit her than I knew that the ire was going to come.
You're right.
So
Yeah.
No rules.
No, you threw
okay.
yourself on that name grenade, and I
Thank
appreciate
you.
it. Yeah.
So B goes back to her grandma's house. She goes through the old toys and stuff. She finds the old video camera that they recorded. A lot of footage of her dressed up as Tina Turner.
Which
is cool.
There's a thing that is very prevalent in movies now, where modern day kids love the music that was current when the person making the movie did it.
Like in the 80s, everybody loved fucking music
That's true.
from the 50s.
It was all doo-wop stuff. That's true. And when our
everyone's
kids
singing like Moni Moni and crap like that, whatever. Is that a 50s song or an 80s song? Did it all blend
think it was
together
a
in
cover,
my brain?
but all time is one. We're just it's
Well, it's also hard to say because so many bands from the 80s, because there were people who grew up earlier or listened to that music, did sort of retro 50s stylings, so it all mushes together.
You're talking to a Blondie fan. I know, exactly. Yeah, they did a lot of that.
Well, we're
stuff.
getting lost in the sauce, guys. So she finds all this stuff. And then she goes to her bodega. This is another scene where, every scene in Brooklyn is abandoned. She is the only person
there's
ever
no one on the
walking
streets.
around.
Yeah.
And I'm like, there'd be at least one weird guy yelling at her on the street.
Oh, Stuart,
she's like a little kid walking around by herself.
Did you notice the text at the beginning that said, P.S., this movie takes place right after the day of the comet?
Yeah. That would make sense because the Janusz Kaminski cinematography is all sunbeams all the time.
Yeah.
There's just so much warm glow.
But the city is abandoned, deserted, still beautiful, but deserted. And this will come up when we get to the Coney Island sequence. I'll complain about this.
So she is being stalked by an animated bug lady.
That sounds so much more exciting than it is.
I know, and I'm like, it's not like Devora from Mortal Kombat, guys. Don't get excited.
Yeah.
It's just a normal bug lady voiced by Phoebe Waller-Bridge.
Yeah, I was like, fuck you, movie, for making me mad at Phoebe Waller-Bridge.
Yeah.
Hey, she's just got to get that paycheck, Dan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
she
she's
is a
being
flea.
stalked. Wait, what?
She's a flea bag.
Oh, right.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I referenced
for
the
that
thing
one.
she's best known for. I'm sorry that confused you two guys.
You're right. She has experience playing
Being a bag of
insect-related.
fleas.
So this bug lady's name is Blossom, not the TV show Blossom, a different one.
Yeah, true. Good point.
And B notices her, but doesn't quite see her. And
It is very funny that the bug lady is not named B, but is named Blossom.
That's a good point. So she.
It's not that funny. It's
Stuart,
not like.
something tells me you don't think that was a very good point.
No, I'm pretty sure he liked it.
Okay.
So B tries to follow Blossom back to, and she follows her back to an apartment above her apartment.
Her building, which I wasn't clear about at first.
Yeah.
It looked like she was sneaking into a different building. And it wasn't until later that I was like, oh, that's where she lives. Okay. So she didn't have to go outside at all.
The next day she goes and visits her dad. He does, we know he's going to have a surgery. He set up some kind of a prank where it looks like he crawled out the window. He didn't. Don't worry, guys. And then,
She meets her friend Benjamin, the kid with broken bones.
okay, yep. And that's the thing. My wife pointed out, like, would a kid with broken bones spend that much time in the hospital?
He seems to continually break them, so it's
Yeah.
possible they're breaking while he's there.
Or
They don't
is it
specific.
because they're worried like his parents might?
Well, that's the,
parents might-
he's like, I break bones a lot, my arm, my leg. I'm like, yeah, the services should come and look at this family. Like, this is not.
Well, I think it's implied. It's never said explicitly, but I'm like, is this like a Mr. Glass situation?
Oh, he's a
Is there-
super villain. Yeah, okay,
That's a
yeah.
technical term.
Yeah.
This is the hardest part of my job as a doctor,
afraid,
but I'm afraid your son has a Mr. Glass situation.
What? It's like, oh, you know, like the film Unbreakable.
Yeah, I want you to, not like the Glass family from the Salinger stories. No, no, no. This
Hey,
is
let me be clear. When I say like the film Unbreakable, not Bruce Willis. Your son is very
the
breakable.
opposite of that. Yeah, I got it. The Mr. Glass character in Unbreakable. You understand. You've seen Unbreakable. So, you know, I don't mean that he's unbreakable. No, I understand you're telling me my son is not unbreakable. He's very breakable. I understand that.
I get it.
Is there
He's breakable. He's obsessed with the tallest building
Imagine
in Philadelphia.
Kimmy Schmidt.
But he's never
and
going to get there.
The opposite of Kimmy Schmidt is what your son is.
I understand. Because she's unbreakable. Okay, is there another doctor I can talk to?
I'm not a doctor.
So that night, B follows the animated Bug Lady Blossom and Ryan Reynolds playing a character named Cal. He's not playing himself. And again, he looks like John Krasinski. And we're going to find out later. I'm going to spoil the twist.
Yeah.
We're going to find
spoil
out
it.
later that Ryan Reynolds is her imaginary friend. And I know.
It is much less of a shock if you're watching the movie, because kind of after the second or third scene, you're like, can he just tell her he's her imaginary friend? Because she's like, I never had an imaginary friend. He's like, huh, you didn't, huh? Or someone's like, you guys make a great team. And he's like, yeah, we did once. And it's like, either you dated or you were her imaginary friend.
Yeah, and here's the thing. Like, our friend Matt Carmen, who does the tech work for our show, who puts together a lot of the presentations and such. for
Part
us.
car, part man, all Matt.
He texted me. I was venting my spleen about like my ire about
You got to do it every 6 months, people.
Yeah.
Just to keep it clean, yeah.
And I referenced the twist. He's like, yeah, but that twist, I was very happy when it happened. And I'm like, was it because it means that this young child was not unsupervised, just wandering around with a man for the entire movie? He's like,
No,
yes, that
instead she was
it.
wandering around by herself, talking to nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is why no one was bothering her, because they thought that they thought a child with serious mental instabilities was wandering the streets.
And so, as an imaginary friend, he's kind of like a clown figure, and he looks like her dad, and her dad is kind of a clown guy. So, did John Krasinski make a move, and he's like, you know what? Ryan Reynolds looks just like me.
Maybe if it was a richer film, I think they could have. That would be a deliberate thing, and they would play off of it more clearly. That she has, maybe even that her dad is too jokey. He doesn't engage with her actual emotions. And so she's created an imaginary friend who can do that almost as a way to give her dad permission. He doesn't have to do that anymore. Like, that's a better version of this movie, you know? But
Yeah, that's a pretty meaningful interpretation. Okay,
but there's nothing in the text of this movie that supports that reading at all.
so she followed. Now ignore all the stuff I said about him being an imaginary friend, because he looks like a normal human man. So she follows. She follows
With
him.
suspenders. I mean,
Yes,
like he's.
I
not-
guess he's not that normal. So she follows him through the streets of Brooklyn with an animated bug, and he climbs.
Bug
She
lady.
watches him break into a kid's bedroom, and at this point, I'm like, I think this is not cool. Like,
No.
like, is he the villain? So he breaks
That
into
would
this
be
kid's
amazing
bedroom.
if he was a child snatcher and she's like, yeah, I'll help you. My life's falling apart. Yeah, and it's just the rest of them is them and kidnapping children so the bug lady can suck their blood out of their
I mean,
bodies.
that's like a Roald Dahl book.
yeah, that's true.
So she.
Oh, I'm Mr. Kid Snatcher. Oh, I'll help you. Yeah.
So Ryan
Champion of
Reynolds
the
breaks
world.
into a little kid's bedroom while they're asleep, and we're introduced to the first large imaginary creature, Blue, who's a giant purple fuzzy guy. He's on all the posters.
I believe when introduced, he does say, I'm blue, but then fails to follow it up with the proper next phrase, which is dabu dee dabu die. Dabu dee dabu die. So that's another ding on the movie right there. That's another
I
criticism.
don't know how I didn't see that coming.
It's like a fucking rake is on the ground.
You just keep stepping on it. Literally, the moment that character was introduced, I was like, "This, I know what I'm going to say."
It's like, that's a rap live show, baby.
Right over the plate.
So Blue, voiced by Steve Carell, and Ryan Reynolds and Blossom all leave. Bee sees them. She is overwhelmed and faints, only to wake up in this grown man's apartment, surrounded by animated characters. They basically explain the rules of this world. Dan, do you want to explain? You love background and rules.
Yeah, you love lore, yeah.
This does introduce something that makes me very angry about the movie, which is Blue is worried. Purple, by the way. They did talk about that later, or did we? Anyway,
He's purple, and he goes, "Oh, my kid was colorblind." Okay.
Blue.
Yeah.
Says like, oh, like once the kids stop seeing us, if they stop believing in us, like eventually we disappear. And like the point, I guess, of trying to break into this thing is like, oh, if I get a new kid to have me be the imaginary friend, I don't have to disappear. Except, like later on, we see what appears to be a retirement community for imaginary friends who are in no apparent danger of disappearing at any moment.
Not at all. It seems like that is a specific anxiety only Blue has. And otherwise, imaginary friends just retire and then have fun on their own afterwards. And so the impetus to get them new kid hosts for their parasitic lifestyle. Yeah. There's kind of low stakes, I would say, since the imaginary friends are all like, oh, yeah, we could have new kids. That'd be great. Yeah, sure, okay, yeah.
So why does something like Monsters, Inc. work and this does not work?
There's a number of reasons Monsters, Inc. work and this doesn't. Well, okay, imaginative spark, funny jokes, strong characters. Well, here's a couple reasons, I think. One, the mechanics of that world are stated clearly and consistent throughout. They are powered by screams. They've got to get kids to scream, but they've been led to believe that kids are dangerous for them. So every time you go into that kid's room to get a scream, that's what's brilliant about the movie is it's like kids are afraid of monsters, but what if it was that the monsters were really afraid of the kids? That's a great way to do it, as opposed to this, which is like, what if imaginary friends were real and yes. And I found myself watching and I'm like, this doesn't have the emotional complexity of Drop Dead Fred, which handles similar material,
And it's like, they're all sad because the kids have forgotten them. And I as a metaphor, I can map that onto other things and be like, okay, yeah, like I would see being forgotten by a kid is sad. But in real life, I'm like, yes, your children, like they forget imaginary friends at a certain point, and I reject the message of this movie that adults also need their imaginary friends at all times.
I would tell you that a large part of the problem with the country right now is a lot of adults do feel like they need imaginary friends, and they have used real people as their stand-ins for those imaginary friends.
Yeah, I think we're all familiar with our parasocial relationship friends.
No, you're all great. You're
no. Wonderful. I'm excited for this. I'm sorry for you guys. The other guys. This made me wonder, did either of you have imaginary friends growing up? I did not. Maybe because my life was just too fun,
No, not like a specific, one that stayed the same. I would imagine things, but not, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
No, I had a little brother and we just beat each other up.
Because when I was a kid, I always wanted an imaginary friend like in the cartoons, where you think they're real. And I could never buy into that level of fake reality, which is ironic since as an adult, I constantly think that I'm seeing things out of the corner of my eyes that are not there.
Oh, you are. You're being followed.
What?
You watched that videotape I sent you, and
That was you who sent that to me?
Look, it was you or me.
I thought that was Michael Haneke who sent me that.
What a weird mashup that was.
Yeah.
So, B runs into Blue at the hospital. And she talks to this guy who's Steve Carell, and he's a giant monster.
And he sneezes a lot, and I think Blue is supposed to be kind of like adorably clumsy and goofy, but he comes on. The characters he's like not clumsy enough to really cause problems that are funny, but the characters treat him as if he is a constant annoyance to be around, but nothing he's doing is that annoying. So there's one part where he's about to say, this is in the trailers, he's about to say the word if, and she goes, don't say if, and he's holding the word in, and he's like about to explode because he's holding it in, and she's like, okay, say it, and he says if, and the whole time I'm like, why did you not want him to say if?
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand. It's not an annoying thing that
This
he's
is a
doing.
joke without a setup. Because,
Yes.
like, if he had been saying if over and over and over again, perhaps it's still not funny, but you understand why it's happening.
Or if it was like an annoyingly silly word. If it was like, well, us giggly gloops, we're always. And
Yeah.
if she was like, please don't say giggly
Please,
gloop.
it hurts it clangs on the ears.
Yeah.
Yeah, just make them like Minions or some shit, right? Kids like that.
Kids love, speaking for my children, kids love Minions, considering I took them to see Despicable Me 4 because they demanded it, and they spent the entire car ride home trying to decide which was their favorite Minion, and they couldn't get it. They kept changing their minds.
Do you think, like in an original version of the script, the ifs were a lot more like Minions, and Steve Carell got involved? He's like, nope.
No.
You can't fuck with my money
These
train,
guys
baby.
again, I'm tired of them. I'm guessing the original version of the script was pretty close to the shooting script.
And by that I mean the first draft.
Yeah. Maybe.
Okay, so B and Blue come up with the plan that she is going to help all these retired ifs whose kids have like aged out of being their friend. That she's going to help them all find placements with new kids. And Ryan Reynolds agrees to this for some reason. So they get on a
Ryan Reynolds spends the entire movie being like, ugh, please don't. Oh, no.
Yeah, at one
Okay.
point he's like, I don't know, that's above my pay grade. And I'm like, do you have a job? What's going on?
There's never a reason for him to do anything, and there's never a reason for him to not want to do anything.
Yeah.
There's a lack of motivation.
Also, the reveal that he's her imaginary
Spoiler
friend
alert.
does not explain his general reticence throughout the whole rest.
Well, I don't know, that he finds it all painful. I think that's what you're supposed to get, is this is all painful for him because he can't find the courage to tell her, I was your
Okay.
imaginary friend.
All right,
'cause
maybe
he's so hurt
Ellie is
by it.
adding so much more depth in this movie.
I say this because like there's so much in this movie that like all the characters behave in ways where they're like, you guys get it. You understand why we're acting like this, right? Like, and I was like, no, I don't. This movie will not stop explaining itself to me, but I don't understand any of it.
Yeah, I think with him, I think that is in there that you're supposed to say, why is he so against all this? Oh, it's because he feels like she abandoned him. Until that moment, you're like, why? Like, what? What's your attitude problem? You're hanging out with cartoons all day. You have the greatest life in the world. You live for free in the attic in this beautiful building in Brooklyn.
And speaking of moments, we're finally at it. That's right. Our characters take the F train all the way to Coney Island,
Coney
Brooklyn,
Island. Yeah. There's a big picture of Coney Island behind us. That's why there's
where
a big
they
build-up.
go underneath a.
Whoa, wait a second. Hold on. Before they go to, they go to Coney Island. It's all locked. Luna Park is all closed. Coney Island, I guess nobody uses it anymore, which is weird because people do use it all the time. Like again, they act as if Coney Island is like one of those abandoned amusement parks that Batman fights at. Like that. Oh, nobody's been around here for a
Coffin
long
City
time.
has like 20 abandoned
yeah.
amusement.
The rides aren't, they don't run the rides off season, but like they don't lock it up either. You can
No.
go down there, you can walk along the boardwalk. You
If
can
there's
walk
any
amongst
place
the-
that in the last 10 or so years, 15 years, has been revitalized far than it was for years, it's Coney. So it's very weird for them to choose such let's say, iconic amusement park for it to be like, yeah, it used to be full of people, but nobody rides the Cyclone anymore. And it's like,
Yeah.
dude, I ride the
Maybe-
Cyclone. Like this.
Maybe the problem is we're coming here in January, Ryan Reynolds.
Well, that's part of it, yeah. I wonder if John Krasinski did his location scouting in the winter and was like, great, Coney Island, abandoned, nobody's using the rides.
So underneath the carousel of Coney Island, we find the retirement home for imaginary friends, which is basically set up like an idyllic retirement
like a retirement
filled
home,
with like various wacky characters, and that means lots of cameos. That's right. We have George Clooney, Awkwafina, Emily Blunt. Oh man, how many more?
How did he get
Bradley
Emily Blunt?
Cooper, Matt Damon, Bill Hader. Oh, my wife's favorite comedian, Sebastian Maniscalco.
Who is Sebastian Maniscalco?
I don't know, one of the ones, like maybe the little dog that
Okay.
flies around with
maybe.
the one with the like Italian American accent. Richard Jenkins, Keegan Michael Key. Oh man, how many more of these?
He never does
Maloney.
voices.
John Stewart?
John Stewart's in this?
Yeah, John Stewart has a few lines as a robot.
And I will say that if you are going to be filling out your movie with, I don't know, like voice cameos from people, maybe instead of getting big movie stars, you should consider getting podcasters. I sincerely believe, though, getting niche people will like. It's not like people are going to be like, "Oh, Brad Pitt does one line in this movie."
No,
Let's
but
go see it.
it's there for people to have that shock of recognition where they're like, "Oh, I know that voice."
They're not like, "Oh, that's the ladies from Normal Gossip." I think that would get people to see it. Okay. And at the heart of this complex is an old teddy bear dog. Teddy bear.
He's a teddy bear, yeah.
Voiced by Louis Gossett.
There's no dog
Louis
aspect
Gossett
to him.
Jr. playing
Yeah.
a character named Louis, I believe.
Yes.
I appreciate you telling me that because I was too lazy to look it up.
That's why at the end of the movie it says in memory of our friend Louis Gossett Jr. and shows that teddy bear.
Oh, I turned the film off immediately. I pulled a Stuart on this one. I'm like,
okay.
as soon as it fades out, I'm like, that's it. If consigned to the dustbin of history.
So he seems to be the leader. He's described as being 92 years old, which is a little weird because I'm like, well, do they get older? They're just like,
He does move like an old man. Was he always an imaginary old man bear? Like maybe.
I don't
Or did he
understand it.
age? It's an interesting question.
But he explains to B that this retirement home you can control with your imagination. So yes, go on. So she starts changing the world around her, changing the floors, making things turn into, I don't know, like outer space. Ryan Reynolds is running away from this, terrified. She stalks after him like fucking Tetsuo.
This is the part.
Oh, if only she became Tetsuo at that moment. She's just going, her limbs are just bursting into flesh mechanical bubbles, and there's just telekinetic energy flying everywhere.
I mean, it's a much better story about the horrors of adolescence and your body changing.
Yeah, B flies up to the space satellite and shoots a laser at Brooklyn. Yeah.
And just puts a hole in the moon.
When
Yeah.
I talk about stuff in the movie that I'm like, I don't understand why it's happening like this. This is one of the things where it's like, he's like, oh, you can change with your mind. And Ryan Reynolds is like, oh, no, and he starts running.
He's running
down
around
the
going,
hall,
no. Whoa.
change around. And I'm like, why? Like you took her to this imaginary place where you can use your imagination. Like, why are you scared of this all of a sudden? Why are you acting like this? And then there's a long sequence which honestly doesn't make any sense. But in a way is the only part of the movie I kind of enjoyed because at least on a visual level, stuff is happening and a Tina Turner song plays. I'm like, I'm enjoying this Tina Turner song.
Not since Beyond Thunderdome have you had both of those things at the same time.
And Ryan Reynolds is like everybody's outfits keep changing. There's a big dance number set to "What Better Be Good to Me" by Tina Turner, where Ryan Reynolds looks like the cool dad from My Two Dads.
Paul Reiser, yeah.
And it is a moment where I'm like, I love Tina Turner.
I think he's the cool one.
Yeah.
But this feels like an odd choice for a kid to like a weird Tina
Yes,
Turner
because
song.
this is what John Krasinski likes,
Yeah.
or someone his age. This is the movie equivalent. This is going to sound harsh. I don't mean it as harsh as it sounds, maybe, because I know this movie's heart is in the right. Its broken heart is in the right place.
Of World War II.
Yeah, this is the movie equivalent of genocide. No, it's the movie equivalent of the kind of toy store they have in Brooklyn, and I know because I used to live there, where you walk in, all the toys are beautiful, they're all made out of wood, they all cost $25 to $45, they don't do much, but they look gorgeous, they would look beautiful on a shelf in a child's room, and parents love them, and kids do not like them. They are not attracted to them, they don't want to play with them, they do nothing. This movie's kind of like that, where it's like, here's a kid's movie, but it's really like, it's for a parent's emotions. Like, it's for a parent's feelings more than it's for a kid. And my kids really wanted to watch this movie with me. They kept saying, are you watching If? Can we go see If? I was like, this movie better not stick around in the theaters because I don't want to take them to go see If. And I'm like, I'm doing it for the podcast. Can we watch it with you? No, I have to do it while I'm doing the dishes. You're going to be
Get back
asleep.
in your cage.
Yeah, get in your cage. Yeah. And while I was watching it, I was like, I think they'd be really...
We want to spend time with you, Dad.
No. Here are the lyrics to Cat's Cradle. This is your life now. It's a cycle of abandonment. Anyway, while I was watching the movie, I was like, I think my kids would be really bored by this because this is an adult's idea of what a kid's movie should be like. The same way that when that Marcel the Shell movie came out, I was like, this is a very sweet movie. I'm going to take my kids to it. And they were like, like boring. Like there's a certain type of movie or thing where adults are like, kids love this. And then kids don't love it. And the flip side of that is, weeks earlier on Father's Day, I took my kids to see a screening of E.T., which my older son had seen, my younger one had not seen before. And that movie destroys a child. Like, his child is so sad afterwards, but afterwards they're like, I hate that movie, but I love it. And I'm like, yeah, there you go. That's a movie for kids.
There you go.
You made you feel something.
Like delicious tears.
Yeah.
Take my trauma, kid.
Yeah, I'm just licking the tears off their face. Yeah, precious salt. But this.
Did we mention Elliott is sort of a mythical figure?
Yeah. I'm a salt
lives off the
vampire.
misery of
Yeah,
children.
you can read about it in Persian mythology. But you're right that in this sequence, this is not stuff it makes sense for a kid to be into. But also, it doesn't make sense why Ryan Reynolds is like, oh no, except the idea that it hurts him to see him doing that. But also, here's my main problem with it. Okay.
Oh, we're getting into it finally.
One of my problems. The point of this movie seemed to be these imaginary friends are going to teach this girl how to have fun again. Her life has been hard. It is time for her to learn how to use her imagination and be playful. But halfway through the fucking movie, it's like, she loves it. Ryan Reynolds needs to learn a lesson about being playful. And it's like, who is this movie about? Like, not since Big Trouble in Little China has the sidekick become the main character like this.
Also, there also the idea is that it's like, hey, you need to have fun again, so you're gonna have fun by getting a fucking job.
Yeah, that's true.
So if this
it's capitalism.
So if this is an adult's version idea of a kid's movie, what's a kid's idea of an adult movie?
A kid's idea of an adult movie is probably a whole movie of people talking about politics and reading the newspaper and kissing. But not kissing open mouth, kissing closed mouth.
Yeah.
Probably they all imagine my dinner with Andre. They're like, it's just people talking.
You know
That's
what?
all it is.
I think that is what kids, and I mean, they're lucky because My Dinner with Andre is a great movie.
Yeah.
I remember growing up, it was like, there were two default references for movies that people don't like. Ishtar was just what you mentioned if it was supposed to be really bad, and My Dinner with Andre was if a movie is really boring, and Seventh Seal was if it's a foreign movie. Every foreign movie is the Seventh Seal. Every grown-up boring movie is My Dinner with Andre. And then finally, as a young adult watching My Dinner with Andre and being like, I'm riveted by this movie. This is an amazing movie.
It is.
So B and gang.
Seventh Seal's good too.
B and gang interview a bunch of different ifs with the intention of introducing them to her friend Daniel.
Benjamin,
sorry.
No, that's all right. I don't need an imaginary friend, Stuart. I got you guys.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks, man.
I mean, Stuart, you are kind of transitioning slowly into being an imaginary friend. Yeah.
I kind of always
You're
have
getting
been.
cooler over time.
Thank you. So she keeps trying to introduce them to Benjamin, and he can't see them. It doesn't seem to work. So she has to, and this is also a great venue for all these cameos that we're getting. It doesn't work out, though, so she ends up going out to the Coney Island Boardwalk, which is, again, totally abandoned, except for Lewis the bear, her bear if.
I mean, maybe this takes place during COVID, and that's why there's nobody out on the streets.
And he explains to her that, like, things that happen in your
don't
life.
follow up that suggestion.
We don't need to walk down COVID Avenue. We don't.
I mean, if you're going somewhere, please take another route than down COVID Avenue.
Dan,
Yeah.
I just know that when we start
Take
talking
Electric
about
Avenue, it's more
politics,
fun.
when we start talking about COVID, Dan starts getting into his anti-vax
That's
nonsense.
true. That's
I'm
true.
not
We
into
don't
it.
need that.
No, quit trying to paint me as a running gag.
I'm not a record. I don't need a needle stuck in me. All right, Dan. Okay.
All right.
That's Dan's new character, the anti-vaxxer who's really into vinyl.
I just got a tetanus shot 2 days ago. When Stuart was like, "Oh," I'm like, "Ow, ow, ow."
Imagine if you could get a Tetsuo shot and you turned into Tetsuo from Akira.
Oh, sick. So she's hanging out with this old bear imaginary friend, and he explains that, like,
Imagine all the things you can do with an imaginary friend, like sit on a bench and talk.
He's like, as long as you can remember it, it still exists forever. And then all of a sudden, the boardwalk is populated with people in old-timey outfits, and all the various imaginary friends are wearing also old-timey outfits, and they have a really good time hanging out in Coney Island. And it's great because finally people are in Coney Island. She goes to see her grandma, and her grandma explains that she used to be really into dancing, but she kind of gave up on that dream when she realized that she, couldn't be a professional dancer or something.
She says, I just got too old or something like that,
And so we learn that Blossom, the animated bug, is her imaginary friend. So they basically, trick her into dancing by playing the perfect record.
The
which is a little
soundtrack to
weird.
Spartacus, yes, they put it on.
And so Fiona Shaw does a really nice dance number that's very overlit by Janusz Kaminski. And then Blossom is dancing in the background. They kind of dance together. And then like Blossom starts to glow like she's becoming Super Saiyan.
Yeah, I will say, this is one of the... There's a couple scenes in the movie where I was like, if the movie was more like this more often, this could be a really good movie. Like, I find something very beautiful in this because even though it's pretty syrupy, they don't overdo it in the same way. And it's not whimsical. It's like this old woman thinks that she's literally dancing like nobody's watching. And that means she can dance the way she did when she was a ballerina. And Blossom does not enter into a hilarious synchronized like routine where they're dancing together and like trading off fives and stuff like that. But instead, like, I thought this was very sweet.
Are you talking shit about the Sonic the Hedgehog movie we just watched?
Not specifically, but kind of.
Yeah, I do agree.
And also,
that
she's not dancing to like a pop song from the 70s or something like that. You know.
Spoiler alert, I did not care for this movie at all, but there are a couple parts in the second half of the movie where the movie does not overplay its hand, and those are the only parts where I'm like, oh, okay, like, you're coming close to getting an emotion out of me.
Yeah. But then Blossom glows, but like, that's it. It's not like her grandmother is like, Blossom, you're back.
Yeah, for like at the end, she totally does.
Yeah.
So
at the end of the movie, we're not there yet. Yeah.
So they have a new strategy. They're not going to try and find new kids to pair them with. They're going to try and make these old people remember that they like their imaginary friends or something. So they go and find...
Sorry, kids. Once again, the boomers are going to take all the stuff and leave you with nothing.
Which is the thing, is that, again...
Imaginary friends, we don't want to let go of those. We'll keep that. And superheroes. We'll make them our own. Sorry, kids. Enjoy living in a climate-depleted wasteland with no new IP.
Like a Rumpelstilts boomer.
Yeah. Let's stop making Star Wars for kids now. Let's make it super gross.
Star Wars has got to be gritty because I'm a grown-up and I don't want to read books.
I don't want to watch My Dinner with Andre.
I don't want to. Why can't I have a cool, sophisticated verse story about mutant turtles who do martial arts?
I mean, the first Ninja Turtles movie is pretty cool. Okay, so they go to find Blue's friend, which is
Bobby Moynihan.
Bobby Moynihan playing kind of a nervous character named Jeremy. They trick him into smelling croissants, and then Blue and him connect over him having to have a really important meeting.
Wait, I want to slow down just a moment on this. One, because I think Bobby Moynihan this is a small part.
He's
very good. I thought he was really good in it. But also, they're like, okay, his family owned a bakery, and his favorite thing as a kid was croissants because it was a snack he could always had because they were making it. So he's at a coffee shop and he goes to the bathroom because he's practicing for a business sales pitch. And he's like, "Get it together, man! Get it together! You can do this!" And Blue, is embarrassed and can't approach him in the men's bathroom at a coffee shop, the place everyone wants to meet their imaginary friend. And then they're like, "Here's what we'll do."
And that's a spacious bathroom in a coffee shop in Midtown.
A homeless person should be living in that bathroom. So they go. They're like, "We'll follow him to where he's doing the presentation." B's like, I'll just sit there and eat a croissant. And when he smells it, just like the end of Ratatouille, it's going to take him back to his childhood and you'll connect. And I was like, I mean, he was just in the coffee shop, so he's probably smelling croissants in there.
I think there were those specific croissants from the specific...
From his family's bakery?
I don't know,
They got it within minutes. But
I'm not John
Krasinski. Make it something harder to smell than a croissant, which is everywhere.
Yeah,
he
make
must
it a
be smelling
sandwich.
it all the time. Like... at least make it like like some kind of fancy French cookie. Make it a macaron or something like that. Something that like they only sell at most places and not every place.
They were afraid if they made it a Madeleine, it would.
It's a little on the nose.
The estate of Proust would sue them.
Yeah, they'd be sued by Proust Inc. It's like, you know what? As a kid, he lived next to a tunnel, so the sound of honking horns really reminds me of this. So we'll have him near a car and we'll honk the horn.
To the end.
And it's like, you mean that sound he's going to hear every day all the time?
No.
Sorry.
I'm going to slow this down.
Look at the.
Oh no, we're running out. I forgot about the clock.
So they're celebrating their newfound success. Cal is finally like loosening up. He's dancing. That's Ryan Reynolds. They think they're doing a great job. Unfortunately, when they get back to the apartment, Grandma's nervous because there was a problem at the hospital of some kind. don't worry, it's not really a problem, because they show up at the hospital. He's just recovering. He's in a huge hospital room. It's amazing.
This is the first time that John Krasinski's character is wearing a hospital gown as well. Up to this point, he has been just hanging around in the hospital in his regular street clothes all the time, as if he's trying to convince them he's a visitor and can leave whenever he wants.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good trick.
Doing goofs and dancing around with this IV bag. I don't think that like hospitals like just have you there for like weeks on end beforehand if you're like okay like
Usually
that,
your pre-surgery time in the hospital is not like, an entire week of just hanging out. Like,
Yeah.
unless maybe the doctor was just busy and they kept rescheduling the surgery. I don't know. Anyway, it doesn't seem like he really needs to be in the hospital all that time.
That's why hospitals are so expensive these days. So her dad is recovering. He's asleep. So
Because John Krasinski's using them up. Sorry, we don't have any free rooms. John Krasinski's just hanging out.
he's just doing bits.
He just wants to
you might
goofs.
remember him from The Office or Leatherheads. Well, probably not Leatherheads, but The Office.
You remember he's Reacher. No, not that
Leather-
Reacher.
No, he's in
no,
the
he's
other
not
one.
Reacher. He's Jack. What is he? Jack
Ryan.
Jack Ryan. Okay,
yeah,
sorry.
the CIA shill. So B, is trying to connect with her father who's asleep, and she basically monologues and talks about her entire life story. It's one of those moments where it's clearly like, I don't know, one of my issues is that it's like this is a child character
Yes.
who everything she says and does is like a little adult.
She's wise beyond her years. If the movie was consistent, she would be like, we'd see that she's kind of trying too hard to be a grown-up, but instead she's just a precocious kid
Yeah.
who just talks beyond her years. Yeah.
Okay, so she talks to her dad, and then he wakes up, and it's great. He's fine. And then when she
Basically
turns
tells him
around,
a story about how she needs her dad.
yeah, then like she turns around, like all the imaginary friends are gone, and then she goes back to the apartment to go talk to Ryan Reynolds, and he's not even there. And she goes up in there, and it's like totally empty. There's nobody.
There hasn't been a Ryan Reynolds here for 40 years.
She goes to the cemetery, sees his grave. The suspenders are on the grave.
Yeah, she cries a single tear. Elliot licks it for the salt.
Oh, precious salt. The salt of the young is the best. Fresh salt, innocent salt.
So everybody's happy. They're packing up. She finds a box of kid stuff, including a drawing she did when she was a child that includes her imaginary friend, Calvin the Clown. What? Ryan Reynolds was an imaginary fucking friend?
All this time?
So she goes back up to that. She goes back up to the attic storage room with the drawing. And at this point, I'm like, is she going to do some like Hellraiser stuff and bring him back?
Yeah, she needs flesh to bring back Cal.
She
Yeah.
doesn't do that.
Oh.
Instead, she turns around and he's there with all the imaginary friends. He's dressed up like a clown. She like
Except
takes,
he's not. It's like he's supposed to be a clown, but he doesn't have clown makeup. He's just wearing a
you're
top
not-
hat and big gloves.
he doesn't like to
And a
mess up his
tuxedo.
face. Even as Deadpool, he looks normal to me. Okay, so this is a personal problem I have with fucking Deadpool, okay? If he's not going to be grosser than Darkman, I don't see what the problem is. So
That was in Darkman's contract. Nobody can be grosser than him.
So she takes the flower. He starts to glow like a Super Saiyan. I don't know the benefits here. She gives him a hug. That's when they play When I Was Younger, and I'm like, fuck you, movie. It's such an on-the-nose fucking needle drop. It sucks. And then we get a montage of various adults running into their past imaginary friends, which are all characters we have previously seen, whether they were a receptionist or a guy working at a bodega. It does not make any sense. Like, there's no epiphany for them. They just run into their imaginary friends.
And some of them are happy, some of them are frightened. But
Yeah, because
there's-
like a little ghost that speaks with Christopher Maloney's voice shows up, I'd be kind of scared.
Yeah, I didn't see any of that because I was like, oh, the movie's over.
yeah, no. You gotta give it that last. You know that there are scenes after the credits sometimes.
I look. Here's the thing.
Oh, and- yeah.
I watched. Maybe my ire for If was. I watched
Your If
this
ire?
on the train to Boston, and we didn't have an easy trip to Boston. Our original train was canceled. We got stuck on a later train. In the meantime, we like waited in a waiting room where there was like a domestic disturbance that had to be broken up by red caps. It was
Only in New York.
a stressful day, and then I had to watch The Whimsy of If. So once it was done, I'm like,
That should have lifted you out of that. You should have been like, there is joy in the world. Yeah.
And how does that look on your phone? Pretty good, or?
Yeah, oh boy, gorgeous.
I think it's time for final judgments.
Final
gang.
judgments.
Final ifments.
Is this a good bad movie, a bad movie, or a movie we kind of liked? As I said, Did not care for this. It is weird to me that there are movies like far more morally questionable, far sleazier that I love, and then this movie made me angry, and I wanted to discard it.
I feel like that says more about you than about
throw
the movie.
it in. Well, because it is so desperate to tug at the heartstrings, and here's my thing about it is like the movie wants to make you feel childlike wonder, and that is its goal, and that's its only goal. It has a feeling it wants to elicit, and it's trying to do that without realizing that in storytelling, sure, that can be a side effect. That can be like something that you hope that the movie creates in you, but you do that by focusing on the characters, like building like an emotional connection or whatever. You can't just hammer like wonder, you're feeling childlike wonder, and like that's what it felt like to me. So I wanted to snap my phone and throw it off the train.
Wow. You're breaking your own things.
I know.
It's like when the FBI agents are going into the houses in Goodfellas and the housewives are spitting on the floor, spitting on their own carpets. I don't understand why. I'd bring them, make them coffee, you know?
Elliott, let's do a reverse shit sandwich because I think that you are the easiest on this. So
Yes.
you can
So
go in the middle.
there's a time in my life, I think, when I would have been like, fuck this movie. I'm Dan McCoy.
Forget about it.
Wait, when were you me?
I kept, yeah, I was you a while ago, before we peed in that fountain together.
Okay.
But there was while I was watching it, I was like, this movie is failing at what it's trying to do. I find it very saccharine. I find it to be it's messy, and it's unpleasant in that way. That, like Dan said, it's trying to make you feel a feeling, and you're not feeling it. So it keeps doing the same thing. Like a guy with a crush on a girl, and she says no, and he's like, I just have to figure out the right way to ask her, and he won't stop. That's kind of what it feels like when you're watching it. But like that lonely guy, I feel like John Krasinski's heart is in the right place. He just does not know how to do what he's trying to do. And so it's like, I could not help feeling, I mean, it's not as creepy as that guy who keeps asking out the girl, but it's a bad analogy. But I couldn't, while I was watching it, I was like, what he's trying to do is not a bad thing, but it's creating the opposite feeling in me. So maybe I was a little softer on it just because, like, I get it. Sometimes when you're a parent, you want to make something for your kids, and you make something that is not good, and they don't like it, but you're still trying. So the whole time I was like, I was really having one of those like, bless his heart, he means well. It did not feel mercenary or kind of like cynical in the way a lot of children's entertainment is. And so maybe that's why I was feeling a little softer on it.
I think that's fair. I still didn't like it. I would say if you're going to watch, like if you want to watch a movie about kids kind of dealing with magical and whimsy, potentially, imaginary characters to help them get over a parent being in the hospital, just watch fucking Totoro, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Thank you.
Yes. I mean, the fact that what he's trying to do has been done before hurts this movie. But even John Krasinski's probably not like, yeah, I'm the next Miyazaki. That's...
I don't know.
Maybe.
Okay, so yeah, it's a bad movie. Do not watch.
Okay. So this is the last part of the show. We're going to stand up from our chairs, and as a man who is aging, it'll take me a few moments. Okay, and I did it. And we're going to answer
Can you live tweet that next time? You getting out of a chair?
Mm-hmm. I'll do it step by step. I'm like, now I'm engaging my quads.
Engaging quads.
Just stand up like nothing. Nobody.
Now Stuart's
look at him
just showing off doing a
squat.
squat on the stage.
I can do that. Come on. All right. Here we go.
All right, Dan's doing
Squatting.
it. All right,
Whoa!
there
Squatting
did it.
contest.
Yeah.
he is. Amazing. I'm not impressed you
Look
did
at
it.
that hip mobility.
I'm impressed you got up from it.
Yeah. Thank you. We're going to take a few questions if people have them.
If people have them. Dan, you're brilliant.
Thank you. and then we're going to end the show. There's someone raising. Well, yeah. There.
Hi, my name is Glenn. Last name withheld. I'm a big fan. Last time you were in Boston, I sent this question by email and it didn't get answered. So
Ooh, double dipping. All right, okay.
it made me a little sad. But
Oh, I'm sorry.
it was starting with Stuart. Stuart, can you explain in detail the Primarchs who are the soulmates of your fellow cast members? And then
Sure, yeah, okay, let's see. We're talking about the
I wonder why we didn't
Primarchs,
answer
the
this
primogenitors of the different Space Marine legions from Warhammer 40,000.
Okay, I was like, I thought Primark was sort of a store where you can buy kind of
damn.
some
A store.
cheaper.
The only store we
T-shirts.
talk about is the Warhammer store.
Okay.
So let's see. Dan would be, he's a little prickly and tough, and he kind of plays by the rules a little bit. I would say he's a Rogel Dorn. Elliott Kalan, of course, is very wordy and devious. I would say he's Lorgar.
I have no frame of reference
Okay.
about it. And Stu, what about you? What are you?
I'll trust that that's true.
Me, Fulgrim, baby. I'm the beautiful
Okay.
prince who turns to evil.
It made more sense when backstage we were mapping ourselves onto Winnie the Pooh characters.
Yeah, that's fair.
Dan's Winnie the Pooh, I'm Piglet, Stuart's Tigger, Dan is also
What are you
Rabbit.
talking about? I'm
Christopher Robin.
I'm a classic Eeyore.
You're Eeyore too. Wow, there's a lot. I mean, A.A. Milne's stories are basically the movie Identity, but for you, right? They're
Where do we have other?
Where's the microphone? We've got microphones.
That's what the microphone is.
Yeah.
This is Adam, last name withheld. So, given that this is a kid's version of The Sixth Sense, like a kid's ripoff, like a whimsical
Instead of-
Sixth Sense.
Instead of seeing ghosts, they see imaginary friends.
Yeah, so what would you think of other M. Night Shyamalan movies being turned into for kids?
I mean, to be honest, there's old is basically big. Like that's like you go to a beach, you become a grown up, you see what it's like to be a grown up, and then you find a magic shell or whatever that turns you to a kid.
Is there
again.
a part in Old where a little kid touches a woman's boobs?
Kind of.
We were just.
Yeah,
sort
you're
of-
right.
We were,
The two kids grow up and have a baby.
Yeah.
we were just sort of writing a Winnie the Pooh split for me.
Okay, yeah.
So,
Oh,
like,
yeah,
where
that's
I
true.
inhabit all of the.
I would love somebody as MPD, but they're all Winnie the Pooh characters. Yeah.
Yeah, Winnie's the Pooh.
Winnie's the Pooh.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think we've already gone into
We've
it.
done it. We've done it. There's no way to do any better.
I mean, and Devil, kids love pushing buttons in elevators.
that was just produced by him.
Oh,
but I
sorry. Yeah,
guess it's
sorry.
within
I
the,
did. Okay, throw me out, ref.
the M. Night universe over there. I think we have.
Hi, yes. It's kind of a selfish question. It's for all of you, but it starts with Stuart. I was on a work trip to Brooklyn. I came and visited Hinterlands, and you were behind the bar.
Whoa.
Yeah, great bartender. And we had a good discussion, and I told you I was about to go see a screening of Ready or Not. And you said, whoa, I can't wait to see that. Come back and tell me how it is. And I did. I told you I loved it. And you're like, I can't wait to see it. Now, this was 2019, just before the pandemic.
Yep.
So for all of you, but Stuart first, did you get to see it? And did you like it or not?
I would say I saw it and I liked it, but it was a little disappointed. That's not a very exciting answer. I feel like, I don't know. I feel like those guys' movies are a little, like easy.
I liked that one a fair amount.
I mean, Samara Weaving's great.
Yeah, she's great. I liked it better than Abigail. I mean, Abigail was sort of hamstrung by all of it being explained in the trailer. But I think that if you're looking for a comedy horror movie from those guys, that's the one to watch, Ready or Not.
I liked it. I love anything where I can see some Andy McD.
Is that the cool kid way of saying
That's how
Andy
kids say
McDowell?
Andy McDowell, Andy McD. So my younger son is obsessed with Charles Darwin right now, and I'm like, you want to read another book about Chucky D? And he does not like it. He doesn't like that at all.
Show him respect, father.
I'm like, tonight you want to read another book about Chardar? He's like, no, not it, please. His name is Charles Darwin.
Where's the mic? Over there, I guess.
Hi, I'm Eric, last name withheld. If we're just going into stuff the hosts know about, Elliott, you teased
Yeah,
in a
sure.
recent episode, about the Spider-Man villain Carrion. I was wondering if you wanted to explain it to the audience here.
Yeah, you didn't tell us about Carry On.
You're right.
on
I
that
didn't tell you
episode.
about Carry On. I teased that I would explain the backstory of Carry On.
I'm assuming he's some kind of villain who makes himself small enough that he can be taken onto the plane.
That's an interesting misunderstanding. It's actually the homonym Carrion is in like a corpse, like a.
That's what a homonym is?
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
A homonym does not live in a hole in the ground. No.
Like in the EC comic Carrion Death, of course, the famous.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just making another reference that no one else is going to
Yeah.
enjoy.
Anyway, He's a withered clone of another guy, and like there's a virus that can turn you into that clone. And he was supposed to be Norman Osborn's dead body come to life, and then the editors were like, "We're not doing that." And so he's related to Miles Warren, who was the Jackal, and he was the one who caused the whole clone saga. This is all stuff you guys know about. So
I love how you've been asked to explain it because you poo-pooed it at the time, and you're like,
you guys know about this. Come on. So anyway, for more about Carrion, I guess check my website. Carrying on about Carrion.
Check your local library.
ElliotKalan.geocities.ca or something.
Is it Geocities?
It's not.
Oh, the Geocity.
Wait, how do you pronounce it?
I would say
You pronounced it
GeoCities.
Geocities, yeah.
Oh my God, we broke his brain.
I gotta check. I
gotta call some
gotta
people.
check my Geocity website.
This is.
Gotta make some calls.
We need another question. That was too shocking.
Let's do 3 more questions so we can cut it off clean. Is there one over there? Yeah.
Hello. Name is Bryant, last name withheld, and we seem to be on the topic of too stupid deep lore stuff, so here we go.
We can also answer questions that are not about deep lore.
No. This is deep lore.
On the podcast, Elliott and sometimes Stu will regularly drop the names of obscure Star Wars characters who have few or no lines and are only named in toys or ancillary media.
Sometimes.
These characters are sometimes affectionately referred to as glup shittos.
Yes.
My question is, which glup shitto would you pick to be the vice presidential running mate for Kamala Harris?
Ooh,
Finally,
interesting. Okay, this is a
getting
good
into the
question.
issues.
This is a good question. You got to balance out her strengths with new strengths.
Mm-hmm.
You got to bring. You don't want Dr. Evazan or Ponda Beba because those guys are troublemakers.
I mean, he's a bit of a troublemaker, but I think the kids are so into vaping. Maybe Elon Sleazebagano, the death stick dealer.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, he has a checkered past, but that's obviously not a barrier for some.
And thanks to Obi-Wan, he no longer does that.
Yeah. I mean, a man has a certain quiet dignity.
I like a good good morning guard. Like, I don't care
Sure,
which
yeah.
one.
Yeah, blue collar, understands the regular folk. I understand. Yeah, of course.
Likes axes.
Likes axes. Yeah, sure.
Bring in the axe vote. Okay.
Yeah, I think that's, yeah.
Maybe like a Rancor handler. I mean, he's a man who's comfortable showing his feelings.
So,
Yeah.
yes.
He understands
again,
loss.
Yeah, and he
Again,
might have a Rancor if you can find
you know
another
what?
one.
He is the guy that we all thought that senator from, where was it? The guy who wears a sweatshirt all the time. Mm-hmm. He's the Rancor keeper is the guy we thought he was.
Yeah.
Just kind of sensitive, but again, blue collar. He's good with animals.
Okay. One more from over here, and then one more from over here, and then we'll say goodnight.
I mean, he doesn't have a lot of political
You can keep talking about
leadership
that while we
experience,
move
Rancor.
over the...
You want a Star Wars character with executive ability?
Sure, yeah.
Maybe so. I was going to say the guy who runs the Mos Eisley Cantina, but he's anti-droid. That's not going to fly. Yeah.
Yes,
Hey
sir.
guys, I'm George. The other day, my mom watched the kids, and she sent me a text that night saying, "Oh, we watched If, and I loved it!" Exclamation mark. Previously, we had disagreements about Cats, where she genuinely thinks it's a really good movie and says that I just don't.
She
yeah, I
might be
think
right
she
about
might be
that.
She says that I just don't understand it, and that's why I don't think that it's good. But I'm just
I like that response.
But I'm just
Come back to Cats when you've experienced some things.
But what is a movie if you wanted to get a sense of someone's taste as like a bellwether? If you'd ask them their opinion of a movie to get kind of a feel for their taste.
Before we answer this, I'm gonna say I don't approve of this this way of judging people
Well,
by asking them about one
no.
movie and being like, "How do you feel about this one?"
No. I want to say...
Have you read Watchmen?
To be fair, he just said to get a sense of their taste.
Okay,
he
fair,
did not say
fair.
necessarily that
Fair.
There was a judgment attached.
Okay,
to it, but,
you're right. Judgment free. How do you feel about this movie? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's an easy one. If somebody doesn't like My Cousin Vinny, they're a monster.
This is a weird one because
It's a weird one because I'm like, well, you can get a pretty good idea of someone's feelings about movies if you make them watch like Possession or like Mother and see how they respond to that.
Oh yeah, do you like Hausu?
But I
So
guess
many
if
of them-
if someone's like my favorite movie, Boondock Saints. Sorry, Boston. Then I'll be like, I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's a really good one because I feel like in college there are a lot of people who are like really into Boondock Saints. I'm like, I'm sure you're lovely, but I don't think we're gonna get along.
Another writer recently told me that they had to update their references because the thing they used to say was just to describe certain types of guys was, well, you know, Fight Club is his favorite movie, and then she started talking to people who are young enough that they're like, what? Like, I don't know. Okay, I don't like it. So
Wait, what's the new Fight Club is their favorite movie?
I don't know. I don't know what the new Fight Club
Joker.
is.
It's probably
Oh
Joker.
yeah, Joker. Yeah, fair
It's
point.
Joker.
Yeah. And now they're gonna be like,
Joker.
the new Joker's got a chick in it. What?
Yeah, the guy's twisted.
Forget about it. They got Lady
he's
Gaga
correct.
in there.
We got one more over there.
Hi, Hollis, last name McCoy. I would like to play Radio Zork.
Oh, let's dust it off. Let me blow the dust off this old console. This old Tandy. Okay, boot it up. Let's play some Radio Zork.
Is there any way that I can acquire an alligator?
I think you're gonna have to phrase that in the form of an ordered command. Yeah.
Command line.
Acquire. I would like to acquire an alligator.
You look around the doorstep, searching for an alligator. None are to be found. Thank you for playing Radio Zork.
Thank you so much.
Tune in next time for the next move on Radio Zork.
Thank you so much for coming here to WBUR CitySpace. We're going to be signing some merch, selling some merch, just chatting out there. But then now we have to go back there for a moment before that.
We'll be in the back for a couple minutes, yeah, and then we'll come out and we can say you things, and you can and then sign them, and then you take them home.
Or we'll
Just like a
say
copy
hi.
of Deuce Bigelow,
We can
Male
do that
Gigolo.
too.
Yeah.
But thank you so much for being here. For the Flophouse, I've been Dan McCoy.
I'm Stuart Wellington.
I'm Elliott Kalan. Thank you, Boston.
Good
We
night.
appreciate it.